investment will catch up to us. General average you could run is an estimate of about 5% per year on construction costs for repair, was something that we talked about. And we really have to be careful as far as a con here is how does that impact our ability to deliver and maintain quality education. At some point in time, if there's continued pressure on our general fund, there are going to be tough decisions that are going to be made that's going to impact staff and class size and educational offerings. And again, we do have these costs of maintaining 3 facilities, and we have some continued busing challenges for us in rising costs with those. I guess the other thing that we would talk about here as the con, and that's something that we have talked about as far as, because we know there's conversations about it, is will the district survive? And I think our biggest comment on that particular point would be, when we did those peer comparisons, looking at the general fund and cost per pupil and the number of the staff per pupil and so forth, there are districts smaller than us from an enrollment standpoint that offer excellent education. And there's no reason that we can't continue to do so no matter what our enrollment size is, whether it stays exactly the way that it is today, which is our initial assumptions when we go through these plans, or where we are at as far as if it's a smaller environment. There's lots of districts out there that are able to do that. There's no reason that we can't either. And then also looking at this is one of the ways that I've been trying to explain what we are. We're a 1A district now that's still living in a 2A body. When I was in elementary school a few years ago, there were more students. We were bigger, and that is the structure and the facilities that we have in place right now. That hasn't changed, even though the number of kids that we have here have changed. So those are the 3 different options, or technically 4, but the 3 different options, A, B, and C, the 1, 2, and 3 campus options that we looked through, and those are kind of the pros and cons as far as what we have so far. And right now I'm going to turn it over to our friend, so Trevor here from KPE, to kind of handle the next section of this discussion.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Everybody give Aaron a round of applause. A great synopsis of what the group has been doing for several months. So I'm Trevor Huffaker. I'm one of the architects with KPE. Our firm was hired about 6 weeks ago to really pick up where the committee left off at, and really start to kind of take all this information and figure out what does it really mean at the end of the day. As Aaron said, looked at a lot of different numbers to get where you are, but what do they all mean when you put them all together? And so that's what we're here to do. So our process typically starts kind of with listening to community, just like tonight. Perfect opportunity to get some initial feedback on where you guys are. And then what I'm going to dive into here is items number 2 and 3, which is really the facility assessments and educational adequacies. That's where we've come in and we've started to kind of look at some initial look at this and figure out where it needs to go. And then eventually, once we get some information back from the board, start studying some options, marry the design and the budget. What's the right tax impact? What's the right project for that? And then bring it back to you guys. Ultimately, you guys are the ones that get a vote on this. And this is the one rare time that you actually get a vote on a tax increase. So it's very important that it's right. And so that's our process. So we've kind of got a few check boxes here of kind of where we're in process. We're close to closing the gap on a few of these, and that's what I'm going to talk about here. And again, we're going to walk through this process. And it's, it may take a couple months, it may take many months. It's about finding the right time, the right project, for the right price. So capital maintenance planning, that's what I'm going to talk about here. And unlike I loaded Aaron up with a lot of words there, I got a lot of pictures, so now I'm going to go pretty quick here. What we're trying to do when we come in and look at the facilities are determine the expected useful life of everything. About 5-6 years ago, Estes Construction came through and did a full look, top to bottom, of all your facilities. They came up with many pages of small deficiencies and some big deficiencies that were identified. And the district's been chipping away at those, especially here at the high school, middle school, with some of the heating, HVAC, those types of things. So we look at all of those. The goal is, we start to rank them. And the idea is if you've got something that's gonna break down in a year or two, we wanna make sure we know that today, not on the coldest day of winter when your boiler system breaks down. If we can anticipate any cost savings through these, prioritize them, and then ultimately look at, what's the impact of the education, not just the facility itself. So here's how we kind of prioritize it. When we're going through facilities, we kind of put this hat on that says, okay, what's coming at you in the next 2 years? These are things like life safety. The fire marshal comes out to your facilities every year and has a write-up. A lot of things never come off the list because you're not in a position either financially or it just doesn't make sense with the improvements that are needed. And for the most part, you're kind of grandfathered in on a lot of those items. But when you start to look at large building projects, that's the right time to take care of those. Same thing, safety and security. I've been in many board meetings where it's a difficult choice for board members that have to make the decision to lock their kids in the school today. And that's just the world that we live in, unfortunately. So how do we look at that? And then again, education needs. Then we start to look out to 3 to 5 years. Again, a lot of these things, just what's coming at you, what's at the end of its useful life. And then 6 to 10, these a lot of times are things that districts are taking care of, carpet replacements, painting, just the regular routine maintenance things that can be handled out of the general fund or with the PEPAL funds. So I'm going to give you kind of a quick rundown of all the 3 facilities here. I'm not sure how familiar everybody, or if it's been a while since you've been in any of these buildings, so I'll kind of give you a quick rundown. Lewis, built in 1962, thereabouts, and for the most part hasn't really been touched since then. When the middle school was built back in 92, they did renovate a few areas, media center, I believe, and a couple small teaching areas, but by and large, that building is exactly how it was today, or today how it was when it was built. The big ticket items that we really saw in here pertain to asbestos abatement, window replacement, accessibility, finishes, mechanical, electrical, and then a lot of site issues. Some of these can be deferred, but again, looking at it holistically. So asbestos abatement. Most facilities built before 1972 contain some sort of asbestos, either on pipe fittings, ceilings, or flooring. And this particular building has both, well, all 3 actually. And we start to get concerned when we see the floor starting to kind of delaminate and start to chip. That's when we start to become concerned about asbestos. As long as it's in good maintained condition, it's okay. But again, at some point, you're going to have to face reality and remove it. All the windows on this building are original. I haven't been in these rooms on a really cold day, but I can imagine from the day that I was there a few weeks ago that it's probably not a fun place to be next to these windows. Looking at accessibility. I'm not just thinking about people in wheelchairs, but what happens when you break your leg? It could happen to a staff member, a student, anybody really. So looking at things like toilets with grab bars, how do we get up and down stairs to the stages, and then door handles and accessibility as far as that goes. Just general condition of finishes. Paint, doors missing, original casework, rusted out toilet partitions. It's just the wear and tear is there for being a 55-year-old building. And again, we see many districts throughout the state that are like this, so this is not a unique condition, it's just that it's an age thing. Good example of a boiler that's outlived its life expectancy. Today we say about 20 to 25 years on our mechanical and electrical equipment. This is the original boiler that's still being used today. And lastly, or second to last, how do we tie up the exterior of the building? The whole point is let's keep water out. If we can keep the shell and the integrity of the outside of the building, then the inside has a better chance of surviving over time. So just, this is really a detailed look that we go. I mean, most people, you probably turn an eye to this, it's not a big thing, but again, all these things start to add up when you're talking about water getting in your building. And then condition of site pavements, again, thinking about accessibility. Where does a person park here to come into the building? How does the circulation work? What's the condition of pavements? Okay, Elliott. this was kind of a fun one. When we started looking through the documents, there was actually the original plans for, I think, a building, might even be this little one here next to the gym from like 1908. And I think that building was built for $350. Oldest document I've ever seen. It was pretty neat.
If we can build for that, let's do it.
Then at some point back in around 1941, that's when the gym facility was added. And then again, the school in 57. I think everybody's fairly aware of some of the challenges here of having separate buildings, kids going in and out all day long. And then again, I'll breeze through these because a lot of these are the same type of condition. And it's very because of the age. Asbestos abatement, the ceiling's peeling. You got open furnaces into the classroom here, so these are students' coats that we're just kind of expecting to put them right next to a furnace unit and operate like normal. Ramp over in the gym is way too steep.
Yeah, but it's fun to run down.
There's been some upgrades to lighting to make it more efficient, but at the end of the day, the light fixture is still exactly the same. It doesn't provide the quality of light that we would, really desire today that makes a great learning environment. And, again, the original boiler and mechanical equipment in this building. Looking at the site, we have more or less a gravel street out front. That's kind of where your accessible parking is. We've got cracked pavements. We've got the exterior of the building that's starting to chip, exposed wood. Again, it's going to continue to deteriorate over time. And that's where Aaron was saying, these are things that are going to be coming at you, whether you like it or not. I would like to say more here. This needs a new roof, new windows, tuck pointing, accessibility, new life. And finally, the Griswold campus here. This is by far the best maintained facility, very good condition, and again, a lot of work's been put in this building in the last 5 to 6 years to keep it that way. It does have a few things, but again, we had to look high and low to really find some things that would make sense to upgrade. And kind of the overarching goal here in looking at all these facilities with whatever plan is ultimately decided is to decide what things do, if a new project is decided, we don't want to turn an eye to one building or another. Should we be looking at what's that low-hanging fruit, or what things can we take care of now, possibly bundle with another project and get a better cost for that? So again, asbestos, interior floor that's chipping and popping. One of the big issues here in this building is just water infiltration. Good example, look right here on this door. Got a few old windows on this. There's not many